We'll then be handing it over to SCC and the President's Speaker Series for Maud Barlow. I thank you for coming.
Thank you, Danny. And if you love this piece, as much as I'm sure you will find it published on downtoearthnorthwest.com. There was a moment a long time ago when the earth touched me. I was only 5 years old, but you don't forget that kind of day regardless of your age. It hadn't begun as my best day ever. In 1962, Spirit Lake was horribly remote, having driven there on what we now call back roads from Seattle. I was there because my mother had to help dedicate a blah blah something or other. I didn't know or care what. But she promised a party and food that I'd like, so I was there. But I kept thinking as we drove for 3 hours, if we had to go this far, we should end up someplace with a roller coaster. Today, I'd say I was pretty crabby, and it was an inauspicious beginning. But a 5-year-old's fury is helpless when attacked by love at first bite. From the moment that little black dog leapt from the ground, grabbed the lunch from my hand, and scampered away, pausing only to look back in happy anticipation of a chase, my real memories began. I recall the heat, the mossy smell of old-growth forest, the crispness of the air, the feel of pumice beneath my feet, which looked like rock but weighed no more than air-blown popcorn, and the sense of utter quiet that surrounded Spirit Lake. Well, utter quiet is probably a false recollection because I'm sure I was making at least as much noise as that little dog as we traversed the pathways around the lake. I don't recall replacing my stolen lunch, and after meeting that dog, I don't think I thought even once of roller coasters. But as joyful as my play was, the pinnacle event of the day was when she and I reached the far side of the lake. And there I paused momentarily from my dog-inspired antics and was amazed to see Mount St. Helens looming across Spirit Lake above the treetops. It was a magical view. The mountain's tip was covered in snow, and as the sun was setting, it appeared to be made entirely of pink icing. Oh, it was an inviting vision for a little girl on a hot summer's day. I vowed to one day climb to that mountain's dessert-covered top. I had pictures of Spirit Lake that I kept with me, okay, mostly of that dog, but I kept them with me as I aged and moved, and I pulled them out whenever I needed inspiration. One clear day, when I was in college in 1980, Mount St. Helens exploded. And when the silicone dust was blowing towards Spokane, I sat on a hilltop in Portland and cried inconsolably, wondering if our planet would ever again show me a place that touched my heart the way Spirit Lake had so long before. That day, I vowed I'd become a forest ranger. I mourned again years later when my photographs, along with most of my other earthly goods, were stolen from my garage. I had stupidly marked the box as my most precious things. The thieves couldn't resist. Work, love, and family and years intervened. I can scarcely believe it was only this spring when I returned to the base of St. Helens. Some would call it fate. I was driving north on I-5, out of gas. I took the Tootle exit. Mount St. Helens magic was still in the air. Truth be told, that day I was on my way to any remote place where I could walk off into the snow and succumb to hypothermia. I was a suicidal psychotherapist, completely unable to help anyone else because I was assuredly unable to help myself. I suppose I was feeling sorry for myself. My life had gone all sorts of directions, none of which seemed to turn out very well, even though I'd consistently tried to do the right thing. I was on a sentimental journey because I was feeling at an all-time low. I was saying goodbye to my favorite places. I expected desolation in this place. But I found a beautiful forest around an, albeit smaller, Mount St. Helens. Toutle, Washington is thriving where disaster once prevailed. I sipped coffee in a tiny pancake shop and found myself regaling a local resident with my memories. He listened well, all the time smiling. I recalled and retold stories I hadn't even thought of in years, about the pink frosting, the little black dog, and how I've continued to see Mount St. Helens every time I sing America the Beautiful. He must have been an exceptional listener, because I told him how I'd failed in each of my vows. I never climbed to the peak of Mount St. Helens. I never became a forest ranger. And then somehow it slipped out. I told him how I had repeatedly used the not what I ordered but became better than a roller coaster day from my childhood to give hope to countless numbers of patients who had come to me for healing. I told him a great deal. I really don't know what got into me. And still, he showed no signs of boredom or exhaustion. Unexpectedly, he reached beneath the counter and pulled out a small blue cloth. A gold star was stitched unevenly near the center. Haven't given one of these in a spell, he chuckled as he handed that to me, but this mountain, she's a part of you. He explained it was a lodge that my mother had been there to dedicate in 1962, Camp Lewitt, and he'd been associated with the camp from 1959 until it was destroyed by St. Helens blast in 1980. And he told me about the raggers. Hundreds of campers earned a rag as a reward for displaying positive qualities. They came in different colors: green for friendship, brown for love, red for humility, and blue. Blue meant you pledged to support the spirit of the camp in your everyday life. I stared at that rag as if he'd gifted me diamonds. And the star? I queried. Only an older camper can get that one, he said knowingly. It's got to be someone with all the qualities of the others who can say what her purpose in life really is. Well, I nearly dropped the rag. I didn't know. How could he think I did? By the way, her name was Candy, he said. I was busy staring at this blue thing with the hand-sewn star. I may have stared for a few minutes, but it wasn't really all that long. When I looked up, he was gone. By 7 p.m. that night, I was home, blue rag in my purse. And the moment I walked in the door, my daughter said, "Mom, are there angels?" I heard myself answering without hesitation, "Oh, yes, there are." "Where do they live, Mom? In heaven?" "Sometimes they live close to heaven, in the mountains," I replied. I thought of that little black dog, of the mountain, the man who gave me the rag, and I began to hum. America the Beautiful.